What if everything you believe about discipline is completely wrong? What if the reason you keep starting strong and then falling off has nothing to do with laziness, lack of motivation, or weak willpower? Because the truth is, most people don't fail because they're incapable. They fail because they've been taught the wrong story about discipline. You've been told that discipline means forcing yourself, pushing harder, waking up motivated every single day, but deep down you already know that doesn't last. You've felt it. That cycle of excitement followed by burnout, that moment when you promise yourself, this time I'll stay consistent, and somehow you don't, and then comes the frustration, the self-doubt, the quiet question in your mind. What's wrong with me? But here's the truth no one tells you. There is nothing wrong with you. You don't lack discipline. You've just never been shown how it actually works. In this video, you're going to discover the real reasons behind your inconsistency, the hidden forces controlling your actions every single day. And once you see them, once you truly understand them, something shifts. Because discipline isn't something you chase. It's something you build step by step from the inside out. So stay with me till the end. Because what you're about to hear might change the way you see yourself forever. The absence of discipline in most lives can often be traced back to a single powerful deficiency, a lack of clear purpose. When a person does not possess a definite aim, their actions become scattered, inconsistent, and easily influenced by external circumstances. Purpose acts as a guiding force, organizing thoughts, directing energy, and giving meaning to effort. Without it, even the most talented individuals struggle to maintain consistency because they are not emotionally or mentally committed to any specific outcome. A clear purpose creates a sense of urgency and importance, transforming ordinary tasks into necessary steps toward a meaningful destination. In its absence, tasks feel optional, and when something feels optional, it is easily postponed or ignored. This is why many people rely on bursts of motivation that quickly fade, leaving them back in cycles of procrastination and self-doubt. A strong purpose, on the other hand, does not rely on fleeting motivation. It fuels persistence even when enthusiasm disappears. It answers the question of why, and that answer becomes the foundation of discipline. When the why is weak or unclear, the mind begins to negotiate, to justify delays, and to seek comfort instead of progress. The individual may set goals, but without emotional attachment or clarity, those goals lack the power to influence daily behavior. Purpose must be specific and deeply personal, something that resonates beyond surface-level desire. It should be vivid enough to create a mental picture and strong enough to evoke emotion, because emotion is what drives consistent action. When a person knows exactly what they want and why they want it, they are far less likely to be distracted by temporary pleasures or obstacles. Their decisions become aligned with their long-term vision rather than their short-term feelings. In contrast, a vague or undefined purpose leads to confusion, hesitation, and inconsistency, which are often mistaken for a lack of discipline. The truth is that discipline naturally emerges when a person is guided by a compelling purpose, as their actions begin to align with a clear direction rather than random impulses. The struggle with discipline is often not a matter of ability, but a matter of emotional control, where feelings are allowed to dominate decisions that should be guided by logic and commitment. Most individuals are conditioned to act based on how they feel in the moment rather than what they have decided in advance, which creates inconsistency in behavior. Emotions are naturally unstable. They rise and fall depending on comfort, mood, environment, and immediate circumstances. When actions are tied to such fluctuations, consistency becomes nearly impossible to maintain. A person may feel inspired and productive one day only to feel tired, distracted, or unmotivated the next, leading them to abandon tasks that require persistence. This pattern creates the illusion of laziness or lack of discipline, when in reality it is a failure to separate feelings from decisions. Logic, on the other hand, is stable and grounded in reason, priorities, and long-term consequences. When a commitment is made using logic, it is based on understanding what needs to be done and why it matters, regardless of temporary discomfort. However, when emotions are given authority over logic, they begin to justify avoidance by creating convincing excuses, such as the need for rest, the desire for comfort, or the belief that there is always more time. These justifications feel valid in the moment because emotions are persuasive, but they often conflict with long-term goals. Over time, repeatedly choosing feelings over commitments weakens self-trust, making it even harder to act with discipline in the future. The mind becomes trained to seek immediate relief rather than delayed rewards, reinforcing habits of inconsistency. Emotional impulses tend to prioritize pleasure and avoid pain, while disciplined action often requires enduring discomfort for a greater outcome. When individuals learn to recognize that feelings are temporary and not always reliable indicators of what should be done, they begin to regain control over their actions. The shift occurs when decisions are made once with clarity and intention, and then followed through regardless of emotional resistance. This does not eliminate emotions, but places them in a position where they no longer dictate behavior. As a result, actions become more consistent, and consistency gradually builds discipline, not through force or struggle, but through the repeated choice to honor logic over fleeting emotional states. The failure to build discipline is often rooted in a misunderstanding of how it is actually developed, as many people depend on motivation instead of constructing reliable habits. Motivation is emotional and temporary, rising quickly when inspiration strikes and disappearing just as fast when challenges appear, which makes it an unstable foundation for consistent action. In contrast, habits are formed through repetition and structure, allowing actions to become automatic rather than dependent on constant mental effort. When a person relies solely on motivation, they act only when they feel energized or inspired, creating irregular patterns of behavior that prevent long-term progress. This inconsistency reinforces the belief that discipline is something difficult or unattainable, when in reality it is simply the result of repeated actions performed under consistent conditions. Habits reduce the need for decision-making, which is important because decision fatigue weakens willpower over time. Every time a person has to decide whether to act, they create an opportunity for hesitation, doubt, or avoidance. By establishing habits, the action becomes a default response rather than a debated choice, removing the internal conflict that often leads to procrastination. The process of habit formation requires patience and deliberate effort in the beginning, as the brain resists unfamiliar patterns and seeks comfort in existing routines. However, through repetition, neural pathways strengthen, making the behavior easier and more natural with time. Many individuals fail at this stage because they expect immediate results or attempt to change too many behaviors at once, overwhelming their capacity to remain consistent. Small, repeated actions are far more effective in building discipline than occasional bursts of intense effort. Consistency, even at a low level, gradually builds momentum and reinforces identity, making the behavior part of who the person is rather than something they struggle to do. When habits are aligned with clear goals and performed in a structured environment, they create a system that supports discipline without requiring constant motivation. Over time, what once required effort becomes routine, and discipline is no longer something forced but something embedded in daily life through the power of repeated behavior. The avoidance of discomfort is one of the most powerful hidden reasons behind the absence of discipline, as the human mind is naturally wired to seek pleasure and avoid pain. Every action that requires discipline carries some form of discomfort, whether it is physical effort, mental strain, uncertainty, or delayed gratification. When faced with these sensations, the mind instinctively looks for ways to escape, often choosing easier and more immediately rewarding alternatives. This tendency creates a pattern where short-term comfort is consistently prioritized over long-term progress, leading to stagnation and unfulfilled potential. The discomfort itself is not the real obstacle, rather, it is the perception of discomfort as something negative or threatening that must be avoided. Over time, this perception becomes a habit, conditioning the individual to withdraw at the first sign of difficulty. Tasks that require sustained effort begin to feel overwhelming not because they are impossible, but because the mind has been trained to resist the discomfort associated with them. This resistance weakens discipline by interrupting consistency, as each moment of avoidance reinforces the habit of escape. In reality, discomfort is often an indicator of growth, signaling that the individual is moving beyond familiar limits and developing new capabilities. However, when discomfort is misinterpreted as a sign to stop, progress is halted before meaningful results can be achieved. The disciplined individual differs not in the absence of discomfort, but in their relationship with it. Instead of avoiding it, they accept it as a necessary part of the process and continue to act despite its presence. This shift in perception transforms discomfort from an obstacle into a tool for development. The ability to tolerate and even embrace discomfort strengthens mental resilience, making it easier to remain consistent over time. Each instance of pushing through resistance builds confidence and reinforces the belief that discomfort is temporary and manageable. As this belief grows, the fear associated with difficult tasks begins to diminish, reducing the tendency to avoid them. The cycle of avoidance is gradually replaced by a cycle of action, where discomfort no longer dictates behavior but becomes a normal and expected part of progress. The absence of discipline is often deeply connected to an internal conflict within one's identity, where actions fail to align with how a person sees themselves. Every individual operates based on a self-image, a mental definition of who they believe they are, and this identity silently governs behavior on a daily basis. When someone perceives themselves as inconsistent, unmotivated, or prone to quitting, their actions will naturally reflect that belief, regardless of their intentions or goals. This creates a cycle in which the individual attempts to act with discipline, but subconsciously resists, because their behavior is being pulled back toward their established identity. The mind seeks consistency between belief and action, and when there is a mismatch, it creates discomfort that often leads to reverting to familiar patterns. This is why many people start strong with new routines but gradually fall back into old habits, not because they lack ability, but because their identity is not changed. Discipline cannot be sustained if it feels like an act rather than an expression of who the person believes they are. When disciplined behavior is viewed as something external or temporary, it requires constant effort and willpower, which eventually leads to exhaustion and inconsistency. In contrast, when discipline becomes part of one's identity, actions begin to occur with less resistance as they are aligned with an internal sense of self. This transformation does not happen instantly, but is developed through repeated evidence that supports a new belief. Each small act of consistency serves as proof that challenges the old identity and reinforces a new one. However, if these actions are not acknowledged or reinforced mentally, the old self-image remains dominant. Many individuals sabotage their own progress by holding on to past failures, using them as justification for their current behavior, which strengthens the identity they are trying to escape. To build discipline, it is necessary to consciously redefine self-perception, shifting from a mindset of limitation to one of reliability and consistency. This shift influences decision-making at a fundamental level, as choices are no longer based on effort alone, but on alignment with identity. When a person begins to see themselves as disciplined, their actions naturally follow that belief, reducing internal resistance and creating a more stable foundation for consistent behavior. The level of discipline a person demonstrates is often a direct reflection of the environment they are immersed in, as surroundings quietly shape behavior without requiring conscious awareness. Every environment contains cues, triggers, and influences that either support productive actions or encourage distraction and inconsistency. When an individual is surrounded by comfort, easy entertainment, and a lack of structure, their mind adapts to those conditions, making it more difficult to engage in disciplined behavior. The presence of constant distractions reduces focus and weakens the ability to sustain effort, while convenience makes it easier to choose immediate gratification over meaningful work. Over time, these small influences accumulate, forming habits that feel natural but ultimately hinder progress. Social influence plays an equally powerful role, as people tend to mirror the attitudes and behaviors of those around them. If the individuals in one's circle lack ambition or consistency, it subtly normalizes those traits, lowering personal standards without deliberate intention. Conversely, being surrounded by focused, goal-oriented individuals raises expectations and encourages similar behavior through shared values and accountability. The physical setup of one's environment also affects discipline, as clutter, noise, and disorganization can create mental fatigue and reduce clarity, making it harder to take consistent action. In contrast, a structured and intentional space can promote focus and reduce resistance by removing unnecessary obstacles. Many people attempt to rely solely on willpower to maintain discipline, but willpower is limited and easily depleted when constantly battling an unsupportive environment. A well-designed environment reduces the need for constant self-control by making desired behaviors easier to perform and undesirable behaviors harder to access. This shift allows discipline to operate more efficiently, differently, as actions are guided by systems rather than continuous internal struggle. Even small environmental changes, such as organizing a workspace or limiting exposure to distractions, can have a significant impact on consistency over time. The influence of environment is often underestimated because it operates gradually and subtly, but its effects are powerful and long-lasting. By intentionally shaping surroundings and choosing supportive influences, a person creates conditions where disciplined behavior becomes more natural and sustainable rather than forced and inconsistent. Discipline is not a mystery, nor is it a rare gift given to a select few. It is the natural result of alignment between purpose, control over emotions, consistent habits, acceptance of discomfort, a strong identity, and a supportive environment. When any of these elements are missing, discipline appears difficult, unstable, or even impossible. But when they are brought together, it begins to form effortlessly. What many people label as laziness or lack of willpower is often a deeper misalignment within these areas. Once a clear purpose is established, decisions become more focused. When emotions are no longer in control, actions become more consistent. When habits are built, effort becomes automatic. When discomfort is accepted, growth becomes inevitable. When identity is strengthened, behavior becomes natural. And when the environment is shaped intentionally, discipline is reinforced without constant struggle. The journey is not about forcing yourself to become disciplined overnight, but about gradually correcting these foundations so that discipline emerges as a byproduct of how you think, act, and live each day. Thank you for your time and attention, and may you move forward with clarity, strength, and unwavering commitment toward your goals. Good luck on your journey to becoming the most disciplined version of yourself.